All right, welcome everyone. What we're gonna do today is learn some Elixir. I've worked with it a tiny bit. So this is probably my third attempt of learning Elixir. I've read like a book about it, and I've done some courses. But honestly, I felt like I wasn't really learning a lot, or I had a hard time like grasping the concepts of it. And front-end development becomes a little bit more functional programming, and I love Ruby too. So Elixir and like the Ruby world seems to slowly move in the direction of Elixir. There's also like Crystal or something, Crystal programming language, which is like C, but then the syntax of Ruby. Fast as C, slick as Ruby. Yeah, so this is also kind of cool, but Phoenix has, or Elixir has some pretty neat concepts, and it's backed by some really solid infrastructure, and it's backed by Erlang. It's like it's another abstraction on top of Erlang, as far as I know, and I like the concepts of Erlang and how that works. I just haven't really worked with it yet, and I have a hard time like putting in context how, or like switching my mindset from is it imperative programming? I think it is, or at least using classes and shit, object-oriented programming, switching to functional, and like how you would structure an application like that. So I was like, fuck it. I first told myself to not pick a framework and just go with the bare bones language itself. And I was like, I just can't seem to do it. I don't understand. And then I figured the reason why I grasped JavaScript so well was because of the abstraction of jQuery, which was kind of like a framework. In some ways, it's a library, but it's kind of like a framework. And now people tell the JavaScript world to not use jQuery, which is stupid. Like, obviously, well, it's stupid in one way, and it's not that stupid in another way. Like, it makes sense to not advertise the fact that jQuery is still needed or whatever. So I would also tell somebody that is experienced to not use jQuery anymore. But if you're starting out learning programming, like, I don't care if you start with jQuery. I just want you to be fucking getting started and learning. That's what I want to see. So I don't care if you're using jQuery or anything else. If you start to learn about callbacks and variables and all that stuff, go and do it in jQuery first, and then you'll figure out why you wouldn't use it later. So I went that approach, and I was like, fuck this. There's this crazy cool framework that I want to try and use, which is Phoenix. So I'm gonna do that. Even though somebody told me at a meetup, because I went to an Elixir meetup like a couple months ago, and somebody told me like, yeah, you don't need Phoenix. It was like super easy to set up like a web server and like your own setup and everything. I'm not there yet. Maybe we'll get there together, but for now, let's just dig straight in. What's up, Rockx? How's it going? So this is what I'm going to learn next year. Are you going to learn Elixir? I don't think you're going to learn Elixir. It would be really cool if you were to learn Elixir though. So what I want to do is I have my website, chisrocast.com, and it says it's still up for development, which is not really the case. But there are definitely some tiny apps, and I consider all of these tiny apps right here literally tiny apps. Like, oh, this is beautiful. This doesn't really work on a smaller screen. 720p, by the way. That's nice. So there's definitely some improvement. And I consider all of these like tiny apps that we have. So I was like, might as well just start with playlists. And let's just make a playlist manager in Elixir with Phoenix. See if we can ship this. And see if we can run this in production. First, probably with a new URL so that the old one still lives through, but we can at least try the new one. and then see how that goes. So tiny bits and pieces from the old website will be sent over to the new one. That's like the idea. What's up, Wolfie? Doing great, thanks. How are you? I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine. So let's start out. I just installed Elixir already. You can do it using brew. I used xenv, which is like a tiny helpful way of managing. It's like ruby-env, which you can manage multiple Ruby versions on your computer. This is managing. You can manage multiple versions of Elixir. So that is like useful. If you're learning, you don't really need this that much, so don't bother too much with that. I made a folder called Elixir, and we're gonna start bootstrap a new application called JSRCats, because obviously this is our JSRCats website, so we want to call it JSRCats. The funny thing is though, is it's probably on this laptop right here. Oh wait, do I have to? I thought I installed this. The Elixir -v, it's 1.6.5. I did install it. At least it said that it installed it. Let's see. This is what I need. And if Phoenix won't install properly with this command, we can download the package from Phoenix Archive, save it to the file system, then run. Let's try this. Are you sure you want to install? Yes. Okay. It says it's installed. .6.5 as well. Okay, well this is definitely a start. I don't know how this is not working anymore, but let's try again. Okay, now it worked. Perfect. So let's install this. So what this does, mixes the, as far as I remember, because it's been a long time since I've touched this, but as far as I remember, Mix is like the, it's like a package manager, bootstrapping tool, build tool, all in one, which is honestly fantastic, because you don't need to worry about anything anymore. So Mix is easy for you to start new projects, start new Elixir projects. It bootstraps like your application folder, a project file, even tests. It bootstraps test folders and test setup and everything, which is fantastic. Like, I love having conventions over configuration, so I love just having a way to set up a new project. That's great. So let me show you guys what a normal Mix setup looks like. Can I mix new? So let's say mix new. This is just a normal Elixir app, right? So let's say normal Elixir app. See if this works. Mix application is, we would start with a letter and you have a lowercase letters, numbers, and underscores. Okay, so it needs to be underscores. Normal Elixir app. Well, let's see what that looks like. So it creates a lot less files, obviously, but this is a normal Elixir app. Oh, it's starting to update all my packages. Great. So, oh, we gotta install the Elixir language. VS Code Elixir. Elixir support. Is this the one that's mostly used? Yes. That is what I need. I thought this is called Programming Ruffle. My bad. I'm starting next school year. IT manager. Oh, I see. Well, if you're learning programming, you'll probably start with Java. Unfortunately for you. So it creates a mix file. It explains like basically what version this of the application this is, and like the environment that it runs into, or at least like start permanent. I think this is like restart mechanisms and shit. You can have dependencies. Tests are in here. Look at this. Unit tests. Test greets the world. If I run the normal Elixir app with hello, it return, or it's equal to the what's that thing called? What are these like column things called again? Some school starts with Python, really? What's up, Gruben? How's it going? Oh, fuck, what are they called? This is like super important. It's been way too long since I've used this. They're called docs. Kernel, no. They are called, wait for it, atoms. That's what they're called. They're called atoms. These things are atoms. These things. You can even have them like this with strings. But this is an atom right here. This tiny like colon. And then... Ooh. That is an atom. And I think they're very good for like comparing things. And they're like the way to go. So let's look at our actual app. So we have a module. So you have no classes. You have no classes, you have modules. And they have functions. So this is a function called hello. And it returns, just like in Ruby, the last line it returns. If you don't have an explicit return, I think you can still do this. But the last line will always return. So this will now, if I run this will return like the atom world. So we're testing, we can run a test and everything. So as you can see, it already gives you a little bit of a setup for your project, which is kind of cool. Like if I start with any other language, it doesn't have that. So that's pretty neat in my opinion. I like that. So let's go into our JuzzleCats app that's been bootstrapped. It has installed Brunch 2, which is a packaging, like an asset manager, basically. It's like out of the box. I think we're not going to use this, but obviously if I search for Brunch, you get something else. This is like, it's like build tool. It's like Gulp with some other stuff already built in. Just kind of neat, I suppose. All right, let's do mix ecto create, which is ecto is the it's kind of like active record for Elixir. It's basically an abstraction on top of your database layer. So this basically talks to the database. It can create models from this, and in my opinion, it fixes all the struggles that I had with active record, where the abstraction was so high that if you had to do anything advanced, you would have to almost write raw queries, and it just didn't feel right. It just didn't feel right. Well, this one is a little lower. It's a step lower, so there's a little more boilerplate, but in the end, it will probably save you a lot of headaches when you do like some advanced stuff. And there is a couple of things that are kind of advanced in my Rails app that I definitely feel guilty about the code because it wasn't that pretty because of that. So let's create the database. So I have Postgres running right here. So if we take a look at Postgres, it should have created the database. Let's see, JuzzleCats dev is now created. Perfect. Apparently there's some native things deprecated that they still use, so it's a little spooky there. But it's deprecated, so it's still able to be used. All right, let's start the server. So mix things, Phoenix, and then the server. Let's take a look. Let's spawn the server. Open it up. Oh yeah. All right, so if Phoenix is running, we can see that the first request is done. Shows that it reached the page controller and the index action. No parameters, but if I pass a parameter here, obviously it will be shown with some param is true. You can see that there's parameters coming in with a string. So this is a tuple? Was this a tuple? I can't remember what all these things are called. Honestly, it's been such a long time. We're already 10 minutes in and we only have an hour, so we have 50 more minutes, so we gotta rush through this. The least thing we want is a CRUD route with a model that's being called that shows an index page. We can create new playlists and everything. That's what we want. Shouldn't be too hard. Shouldn't be too hard. So let's take a look. What are these things called again? Before we continue, we gotta know what our things are called. So a tuple, is that what it is? It is not really a tuple, is it? I think it's an enum? No. Yeah, it is an enum. It's a map. Is it a map? All right, it's a map. That's what it's called. Booyah. A set of functions for working with maps. Oh no, that's... Maps are the go-to key value data store. So it's just another one of those key data stores. Key value data stores. Just like a hash or anything. Probably. So it's key and value. Okay, well this is a map. So good to know. We gotta know our like what the things are called. It's important. Okay, so let's follow the guide because they have a pretty sophisticated guide on how to build stuff. So it creates a database, blah blah blah. We already skipped this. We're already here. It's running. Give me the next step. Adding pages. That's exactly what we want. Up and running. So no next step or whatever? Is this just it? Or adding pages. Let's go. Our task is add 2 new pages to Phoenix. One is purely static and one with the path from the URL. I don't really care too much about that. All I want to know is I already know something like this. So let's... Oh, I didn't open the project. That's awkward. Alright, let's open the folder. Hello? Oh, I'm already in the folder. Beautiful. Alright, let's open the project. And this is the project. So we got a mix file that shows all the paths and everything. It shows like the compilers. There's even a gettext compiler. So there's a lot more into this one than the basic mix project. This one, for example, even has like translations and everything built into this. It has controllers, routes, models, views, everything, even templates. It has seats. See, it has like all these aliases, so you can do active setup. It runs active create, active migrate, seats, and everything. So it's pretty similar to Rails. If you've worked with Rails, it's pretty similar. There's a couple differences though. So if we open the lib folder, there's two folders, and there's 2 files. One is the module name. So this is our basically our core module, and I think from this point on you start to extend all these modules into submodules. So this is called just raw cats, and then you have just raw cats web. Or maybe you don't. Maybe you don't. So I honestly don't know what this is. Microsoft confirms they will acquire GitHub for 7.5 billion. Yeah, I've heard that too. So we have a normal JujuCats folder. This is where all your normal application logic lies. And I think this is the root of our app, which is the JujuCats application. It inherits from application, and it runs as supervisor. And this is a really big concept in Elixir, is that you basically spam not everything, but most things in, and I don't know which one or when you use this or anything, but you spam a process, a sub-process. So we have this one application that runs, and every single thing runs in a separate process. So if it crashes, the whole like main node didn't crash. The main node like should never crash. And then there is, on top of that, there's even the Erlang VM or whatever, what it's called. I can't remember what it's called. It's the VM, and that thing should never crash. So if any of these things crash, it will restart. And it will restart one by one. I think this is what that means. So let's take a look at the docs, because I don't know exactly what that means. But this is a really important thing. You spawn like gen servers to basically spawn a process, do a bunch of stuff in that process, and get data back. But yeah, obviously this is like one of those parts where you read about that, and then you see it, and you tried it out a little bit, but you don't understand when to use it because you barely worked with it. So I hope for the best that with this project, we'll be able to learn this. Oh, I can't reopen stuff. That sucks. Yo, Hover Games, thanks so much for the host. How was your stream? So a supervisor is a process which supervises other processes. And then you have a couple of these like 1 for 1. Let's see what that means. 1 for 1. Shutdown values and restart strategies. So restart strategies 1 for 1 means here 1 for all. 1 for all. So there's a restart option. It can either be 1 for 1. So I think if 1 dies, it spawns a new one. Rest for 1. So if 1 dies, the rest restarts. No, that's probably 1 for all. See the strategy section. Oh, here. If a child process terminates, only that process is restarted. If a child process terminates, all other child processes are terminated, then all child processes are restarted. So this one kills all. So if 1 dies, the other ones are dead too, and then get respawned. And then rest for all. So that's 1 for all. Take 1 for the team. If a child process terminates, the rest of the child processes, an example, the child process after the terminated one in start order are terminated. Right. So let's say this second one dies and there's one below this, like this. If this one dies, then only the ones that come after will be like killed and restarted. Or is it the other way around? After the one in start order are terminated. So in start order, yeah. Right. So the children of this core supervisor right here at the start method of our application, it boots up 2 sub-processes, and if any of those dies, it just restarts this. So if the repo dies, it will just get restarted, but it doesn't affect any of these. But if I change this to all for 1, then what that would mean is that if this one dies, it also kills this one, and it just reboots them in the right order again. So that is pretty cool. That's like good to know. Like if stuff depends on each other in some shape or form, it's nice that you can just wipe it all. Because these all have their own like state that they're in, you know? Like you fucking fire stuff at it, it does some stuff, and it gives you back values and everything. Input and then output. And then if some of these get out of sync, that's not really good. So if this one dies and you rely with it on this one, you can just change the strategy for it, which is really neat. I think that's really cool. Just the concept of like being able to spawn sub-processes as like something that isn't as ugly and it's actually a good thing to do. That's cool. I like that. But it does like change your needs. It's pretty difficult to wrap your head around, I think. Not much, didn't stream that much. What did you play? All right, let's just go to the router. So in our web, which is obviously our web part, there's a router file. This has all the routers that we have. And if we add a resource here, and then I think it takes a string of the name of the resource, or the path really. So if we say resources playlists, so that's what we want. We want to make the playlist, and then we need a controller. So let's say the playlist controller. That's all we need. Now, if we run mix Phoenix routes, so mix is the package manager, Phoenix routes, we get a list of routes that it created, and You can see that we have the root, which goes to the page controller. But we also have our boy playlists. Playlist by ID. So this is like the edit page. We have the show page. So we can look at one playlist. Right now we'll follow the full CRUD, but I don't think we need show. Because I don't think we'll go deeper into one playlist. I don't think we'll do need edit, and we do need new, and we do need create, and we need delete. So other than that, I don't think we need show, but we can, I could actually do that with this, except show, and then I think it will filter it out. So now the show is gone, but for the sake of it, we can just leave it in, and then we'll build all the pages. So now if we go to that exact route, so let's say /playlist, it will throw an error because we specify that that if somebody hits this route, it will be taken to the playlist controller. So you as a user, like, knock on the door. Hey man, this is the door of the website. It's like, hey man, I want to get in. And you tell it like, hey, what's your path? And he passes like playlist. So you have like you hand him like the path that you have, and it's like playlist. And then this bouncer is like looking at, standing in front of the door, and he's like, okay, let me check on my list here with the list of routes, and one of these matches playlists. So you can come in, and I'll lead you to, and then he opens another door, which is the playlist controller. But it's not there. There's no door with the playlist controller, but the bouncer thinks there is. He doesn't know anything about your whole application. He only knows about the door and which one to send him over to. So you come in, you knock on my door, you say, hey man, give me the playlist. Give me to playlist. That's what you ask. And then he sends you to the playlist controller guy. And he's not there. So we're gonna make a playlist controller. Let's go to controllers. And let's create a playlist controller. We'll just copy it from here. And we change this to playlist controller. And it does exactly this. So it has an index, which corresponds to the index that we specified here. So as you can see, /playlist leads to the playlist controller index. So let's take a look. If we refresh, we'll get a different error. And now the fact that we created our playlist controller guy is nice, because now if somebody knocks on the door and asks for /playlist, he can send them to the playlist controller, which is like, hey, come in. And then he gets to the actual guy. The guy is now created. But this guy is being told right here in the code that if somebody comes in, that he will hit the so the playlist controller, or the router actually tells him to go to the index page. So he asked the playlist controller, hey, show me the index page, and the playlist controller is like, hey, thanks man, I'll take it over from here. So he sends him to the index, and then he gets a step on his list that says render the index.html page. And we don't have that. So now we get this beautiful error which says, hey, I tried to render the playlist view. This is another convention. So we rendered a connection. I'm gonna check what this actually takes though, because I'm curious. And I think I can install a thing that will actually tell me a bunch of stuff. I think it's IntelliSense. Does this do anything? Hopefully this works. Because I think I need docs. I want my docs. Does this have docs? No documentation available. That sucks. I want my docs. I had on my other laptop, I had documentation. Oh wait, there is documentation. There's just no documentation for the render method. Doesn't matter. Anyways, so it says our boy playlist view is not there because it's not there. So I tried to hit the render method on the playlist view. And if you look, there is a page view. So we're just gonna steal that. Let's do that. Let's create the playlist view. I just copy paste because it's conventions. We can just copy paste it, and now we refresh, and then it says, hey, man, I got to the playlist view, and I hit the render method, but there's no index.html. You asked me to render the index.html. What the fuck are you talking about? So I was like, fuck, man. All right. So this is a little different from Rails, where Rails would send you straight to the view, to the template in this situation. There's another layer in between, which is the views layer, that will send you straight to the template, which is new to me. So I still have to learn what the use case is for that and why that's there. But probably just to prepare data. Oh, that's index.html. I think it's EEX. Yeah. So let's render something. Playlists. Would you look at that? It like the moment I save, it automatically refreshes. It's awesome. I hit save and I don't even have to refresh. It just auto refreshes. It's awesome. It's fantastic. That's a quality dev server. That's cool. All right, so we got our first route working, but all the other ones are not. So that's a little something. But let's first just add git. And I open a GitHub app because I'm lazy. I don't like using the command line too much. I like using the command line when I need to. All right, so we have all this. Let's just let's just do an initial commit. A little late into the project because we already wrote code, but bootstrap our boy Phoenix. It's a little late into the project, but fuck it, man. All right, we're already 27 minutes in, but we have a first page, so that's great. That is great. So let's see if there's any mixed tasks. So I'm coming from Rails, you know. I know there's a lot of like things to bootstrap, a lot of stuff. So why would I build this from scratch, right? So there is this beautiful Phoenix generate function, which is gonna generate everything for me. But apparently it doesn't do the models. It does the controller, the views, and context for an HTML resource. So let's try that. Let's see what happens. We initialized git anyways. We can always go back when something goes wrong. All right, so we generate HTML. And then what does it take? Does it need to have a name probably? Oh, see, we can actually build this. So let's remove what we created. Let's just remove what we created. And then just see what it does if we generate a playlist. All right, so this is what we had from the start. We could, in theory, stash this. Let's do that. Let's stash this shit. And then pretend. Oh, fuck. That's not how that works. Because I was like, you know what? All these changes that we made. Oh, well, fuck it. Let's just keep it like this. Fuck it. So, let's generate. Doesn't matter anyways. So let's generate some shit. Let's generate. So they use the resource name. Or not. No. This is the route, probably. What's up, Lars? How's it going? This is the route, I think. The module name, followed by singular and plural names of the generated resource. I see. This is for the database. This is for the model. This is the module name of the generated resource, ending with any number of attributes. Okay, so let's try it. Playlist. It's plural. I guess. Playlists. Playlists. The playlist can have a title, which is string. It can have a URL, which is a string. So let's take a look at the ecto types schemas. Task tester. Wait, what did I say? Task tester. Jesus, I just completely mixed these up. Let's see if they have an example of generate HTML. Word count. I want to know what all the types are, because I know in HTML or in Postgres, I think you can say something as a string and something as text, but I'm not entirely sure that's actually the case anymore. What happened to your JavaScript fetish? Hey man, I still love JavaScript. All right, let's see. The binary ID. I see what all the types are that they want. I want to know how this works. Ecto. Good, good. Varchar. See, this is the thing I want to avoid, because I might have long URLs. So I want to make sure that it's not a max of 255 characters. So I wonder which type I have to use for this. Phoenix, ecto, attribute, types, schema, primary key, blah, 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 primary keys, no, oh, here we go. String, is that the only thing? It only knows about string? It has datetime, naive datetime, UTC, UIDs. What are we making? We're literally rebuilding this playlist part of the Chiselcat's website. Okay, so I guess we're just doing string. I don't think cares about how long it is, I hope. Primitive types. And UTF encoded string. Okay, well, let's just fucking go with that then. URL is a string. We'll think about the image later. We'll think about the image URL later. So I think for now, we're gonna have a playlist name and then a playlist URL. And then I think it will by default already created that and updated that. But we need another one. We need active date, active time, active at. We need like is active, which is a boolean. Let me take a look at the schema of my actual one. DDC playlists. So this is the actual Ruby app. So let's take a look at the model or the database schema. Playlists have a title, a URL, created at active, and active date. Okay. Sure. We can do that. Time settings are typically represented by naive datetime or UTC date. The native datetime uses Elixir's naive datetime. Fuck. I didn't know it was a link. Which has no time zone information, while UTC uses a datetime and expects the time zone to be set to UTC. Dude, does it matter for us? Let's just generate this. We can always write a migration. For now, this is like what we need. All right, let's try it out. Dun, 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 dun. Is there anything else we need to do? Nope. Let's try it. I don't know what context is, but we'll see. Contexts serve as an API boundary for a given resource. Multiple resources may belong to a context, and a resource may split over distinct context, such as accounts user, payments user. I don't know what that means, but let's generate something. Woo! Proceed with interactive override. Yes, I think. Following files conflict with new files to be generated. Yes. Already exists. Yes. Overwrite. 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 All right. Add the resource to your browser scope. Wow, you have to add it yourself. Oh, actually that was normal, I think. Okay, we already had this, so that's perfect. And then we run the migration. So let's see what it actually created for us. Or maybe, yeah, what did it actually create? So it created the controller. Or really I have to specify what app? Come on, man, you know I'm using VS Code. Where's the boy VS Code? Show me the money. Okay, it created a controller, an index, a new, a create, a show, an edit, an update, and a delete. And it asks the playlist resource, the playlist model to list all playlists. And then it calls render with the connection, the template, and then the context that you want to pass it. Think. But yeah, let's see. Let's run a migration. Where does it actually create the migration? Does it actually write a migration? Create a test for me? That's cool, man. Look at that. Are you fucking kidding me? I have to keep specifying what fucking editor I want to open this in? Are you for real? Come on, man. Describe playlist. Valid attributes. Title, some URL, some updated title. Wow. That's some good tests. Some decent, like, it actually generates decent code, you know? That's pretty surprising. All right. At least I think it's decent code. Let's run a migration. See what happens. It generated the migration. Oh no, it didn't generate. The migration was already there. Where was the migration then? So these are the models. Holy shit, you have full control over these. These are not automatically inherited from anything. So you have playlist and you have playlist. So this is a schema, and then this is the model. Yeah, this is the schema. Is this the repo then? Or is this the repo? This is the repo. No, it uses the repo. I don't know anymore, man. I'm so lost. This is a playlist. This is playlists. This is the playlist. Right. Okay, let's just continue. Fuck it. Let's just continue looking at what we did. I don't know where it got this migration from. Migration. Private repo. Private repo migrations. Okay. So that's even outside of lib. So you have your assets, which is your JavaScript, you see this, whatever. You have your config, which is your app config. You have your dependencies. You have your lib, which is all your business logic. And then private. There's this like, wait, this is weird. Private has kind of like public stuff here. Or maybe this is copied to public. I don't know. We'll read about this in a little bit. Okay, so simple migrations, create a table, add some fields, add some columns to the database. Does it make seats for me too? That would be sick. It does not make seats for me, but it shouldn't be too hard. Okay, so if I were to refresh now, it actually bootstrapped the fucking CRUD application. Look at this. We can create a playlist, Rapperino playlist, Spotify.com/something. Boom. You can edit it. You can go back to the list. It shows everything. You can delete it. All right, now we gotta understand what the fuck this actually did, though. Is there anything in our views that look different than what we did? No. We're not doing anything crazy. Did we even generate that view? Well, we did generate it, I think, but it was the same. This is super similar to Rails though. Okay, so let's read what this does and why it does it the way it does it. Generate playlist resource. Okay. Let's go back. Go back to the guides. And then learning. Up and running. Adding pages. We know kind of how we add pages, like it's not difficult. I do want to know about the structure though. I understand what I have an idea what the view does. I think it contains like all the exposing or like doing anything, any data preparation for the actual template is what I feel like, and it probably can set up some helper methods, but I obviously don't exactly know if that's the case. Phoenix views have several important jobs. They render templates, they act as a presentation layer for raw data from the controller, preparing it for use in a template. So this is one of those things that was really annoying in Rails, where they wanted you to prepare data in, yes, helpers in the template. There was no real place for this. Like, you don't want to add that logic in your model, because it's not really business logic. It's like preparation for the view to make it easier for the view. It's not really like any talking to the database, or like you want the models to be a raw representation where all your business logic is. And your controller is just a passing through. You don't want to like change data there to prepare for the view. You want to do that in like a presentation part. So the controller should just ask for data, pass it through the next one, and then the next one should do like changing of the data. The controller is just like, hey, somebody knocks on my door, I'll pass it to the right person, and I'll grab the right stuff for you, and I pass it to if you want to see it. And then the view should like prepare it and like add some helpers so that there's no logic in your templates. So I'm really happy that this is a thing. But they added a little layer in between the presentation layer, because there's initiatives in Rails too where they introduced this. But I'm obviously, it just always felt wrong. It just, most of the times it felt wrong. Like your controllers either get too fat, or your models get fatter than they should be because there's like presentation kind of logic in there. And then your helpers are like not really helping. They're just taking your full model and just trying to prepare some stuff for you, which is like a little interesting. Say we have a data structure which represents the user with a first name and a last name. And in a template, we want to show the user's full name. We could write that code into a template to merge those fields into a full name, but the better approach is to write a function in a view to do this for us. I don't know. How did I click on that? Oh. Okay. It is view logic. Function and template. So views are actually for a resource. Views are helpers for a resource. They're not helpers for a template thing. But it does generate. To render any templates, we need a hello view. Names are significant here. First part of the names of the view and controller must match. Let's create an empty one for now and leave a more detailed description of the views later. Create lib hello web views hello view. Make it look like this. Phoenix templates are just that. Templates in which data can be rendered. Yes. Makes sense. I don't need to read about this. It's completely clear. Adding a new route, adding a new... Okay. Here is some pattern matching. As far as I can see. Is this pattern matching? Or is this deconstruction? Because we have something similar in JavaScript, where we deconstruct off of the map, the messenger, and we assign it to the variable messenger. Requests to a new route will be handled by the hello controller show. This is exactly what I was talking about. We already have the controller at blah blah blah, so all we need to do is edit that file and add a show action to it. This time, we'll need to key one of the items in the map of params and gets that passed into the action, so that we can pass it to the template. To do that, we add this show function to the controller. There's a couple of things to notice here. For pattern match against the params passed in the show function. So this is super interesting and super powerful, and I love this. Is like, I think, super common for functional languages anyways, is they are pattern matching. We're not, I think, in our show. Oh, we are. So got like a super nice... Oh, here it is. Look at that documentation. That's great. If show is called, it gives me a connection, I think. This is, I think, a connection. But let's just read on. So pattern matching is basically if you call a function, you can have multiple versions of a function. So let's say I have a some module, and I create a function. This is how you create functions, right? Yeah, F. Let's say I have multiple functions with the same name. This is still fine. Okay, so let's say we have a sum module, or a module called sum module. It has a function named blah, but there's two definitions for it. I think I have to do this way. I think the order is important. So if blah is called with hello world, it will take this version, which is called sum module blah 2 or 1, is the first version of the definition of that function. So there's two functions here. There's two functions with the same name. So if blah is called with a string hello world, it will return a different string. If it doesn't pattern match with the first one, it will try and match with the second one. So if blah is called with anything other than this, it will return just that. So I think if we run this in an Elixir like REPL, I don't know how to exactly do this. Elixir interactive. I think it's IEX actually. Alright, let's copy and paste this module. Oh. Only variables and slashes are allowed as arguments in definition header. Def outside of module. How is this wrong? How does this wrong? Remembering arguments in parentheses. Oh wait, I missed my dues. I was like, what the hell? Okay. Whoa. Alright, there we go, there we go. So if I now do sum module, and then I call blah on it, or just like blah, it will return blah. But if I call it with hello world, it will pattern match and it will find the first one, because it will be matching with the string, which allows for, instead of having a lot of if statements in your functions, you can just change the function's body based on the input. So an example of this is you can have gravity, function of gravity, and then you could pass in a planet. And then you can basically pattern match on every planet. You could say like Earth has this amount of gravity. I don't know how much it is, but like a number of the strength of the gravity or something. And you can have another one for another one, but it doesn't change the implementation of how gravity works. You can still call it, it will just change depending on the context. So instead of having like gravity with like a planet, and then have like a switch case or like an if statement with like if the planet equals Earth, then return 1, 2, 3. Else if blah blah blah. Yeah, you know the deal. I obviously don't know enough to actually give you guys proper use cases for all this shit, but I can see this being really powerful and resulting in really clean code. So what in the end? So in the end, there's actually no... Oh, that's the timestamps. So what type are the timestamps? I wonder. Can I see that? Active schema. It says they're typically typed, represented by naive datetime, but kind of want to see it. I don't want to see it. But I don't think there's a way to see it. There's no schema definition or anything. That's interesting. Okay. So sometimes you will see like in your stack trays, you will see like function /2, like \2, which means that's the second version of this function. So now we're pattern matching on show. It takes a connection and it takes, if the second parameter is a map with a key called ID, then we take that ID into a variable. So we pattern match against the params passed. So these are all the params that are passed. So these, as you can see here, the second parameter is params, and it's passed with an underscore to define that we're not using it, but this is still coming in. If we were to remove this, it would never pattern match with this, I think. Let's save it. And let's go to localhost 4000 playlists. Exactly. So it says I'm trying to hit the index and pattern match with the second version of it because the first one that was defined didn't match with me, because I passed in index with 2 arguments. But this function is only like ready for 1. So if I pass the third one, it would not pattern match either. See, it will be like, oh, cool that you have an index method, but or an index section, but it will not pattern match with me because I passed the wrong thing. So I could also do this, but this would indicate that I actually need this param's second parameter, but we don't, because we don't use it in the function body. So now it would match. So now it says, okay, nice, it matches. We can continue. Let's show this one. So let's change this to blah. It will not pattern match anymore, and it would say the show class this typically happens when there's a parameter mismatch, but may also happen when any other action arguments do not match. The parameters are this. So the parameters are this: a map with a key ID, but we only pattern match the show on something called blah. So if we bring this back, everything is okay. We pattern match against params passed into the show function so that the messenger variable will be bound to the value we put in the messenger position in the URL. So they created this. So hello/messenger. So they need a param called messenger to fill into that slot. So anything filled into this slot will have a parameter coming into the controller called messenger. So they deconstruct messenger from the parameters, call it messenger. So here, pattern match against the show function so that the master variable will be bound to the value. Oops. Fuck. Where was that? All we need to do is edit the file and then show. Here we were. The master position in the URL. For example, if our URL is now localhost 4000 hello Frank, the messenger variable will be bound to Frank. Within the body of the show action, we will also pass a third argument into the render function. a key value pair where messenger is the key, and the messenger variable is passed as the value. If the body of the action needs access to a full map of parameters bound to the params variable in addition to the bound messages variable, we could define show like this. So we pattern match. Okay, I see. This is very like, this syntax is kind of similar to what we have in ES6 in JavaScript now. So this kind of feels okay. But we pattern match if the messenger is there, and if it's there, we call the params the variable params. So we can use the whole variable, but we only pattern match on if parameters actually have messenger in there. It's good to remember that the keys of the params map will always be strings, and that the equal sign does not represent assignment, but instead a pattern match assertion. Okay. It's good to know. I don't know what that exactly means. We have used the equal operator a couple times to assign variables in Elixir. In Elixir, the equal operator is actually called the match operator. Let's see why. 1 equals x. 1. 2 matches with x. No match of right hand side value 1. Notice that 1 is a valid expression, and it matched because both left and right are equal to 1. Oh, it's based on this before. I see. So this is actually matching. So we match ABC, like the tuple ABC to tuple atom hello, and then a string world, but there's no third one, so it can never match. And if these already have that, if these already are defined, I think it will match it against it. So it will, if okay matches with this one, okay, then it will have result match with 13. And then if you run okay on this one, this will not match. So then you will get an error. And then you have an array with ABC, or a list. Or maybe this is a linked list. I don't know what this is all called. And in the template, we can use messenger as a variable. Put an @ sign, just like in Ruby. This is not a module attribute. It's a bit of a special metaprogram syntax which stands for assigns messenger. The result is much nicer on the eyes and much easier to work with in a template. Okay. That was really helpful. That was good to read. Gives a little insight of what this is all about. So if I do params here, could actually use params in here. So what I want to do is I want to, what is echoing in echo, or like puts in Elixir? Oh, it's IO something, IO puts. Alright, let's see what this does. So let's open, refresh. Protocol string chars not implemented for blah blah blah. This protocol is implemented. Okay. Can it only do strings? So now it still works. So only because of the IO puts with the params, which is a map. For some reason I cannot echo and like puts like a map. Okay, let's see. Let's see if we open IEX and we do IO puts a map. This, yeah. String, so key, and then value. Okay, this makes sense, but what about IO write then? No. Elixir puts map. Inspect. So we're gonna do IO expect for non-string values. Okay, let's see if this works. If I were to refresh this now, it doesn't break, and I should probably be able to see it. Yeah, we see it right here. Let's clear this, refresh again, and we can see the value of the params here. So if I add more params, blast true, we will be able to see blast true and IDs one. So if we were to match on blast true, and the rest of the params is there, we would probably still get a page. Oh, it's not. It's a string true, because it's always a string. No? Is that not the case? Oh, wait. Params.id. How do I access something in the map? Do I do it like this? Probably. Repo get, because of the given value is nil. What are the params? Blast true. ID is 1. Let's expect this. No. How to or access key from map Elixir. Probably doing something wrong. You have to pattern match it? Oh, fetch. You have to map fetch. Or this. Wait. Oh, the key is not an atom. The key is a string. That's why it doesn't work. Yeah, there we go. Okay. I think I understand now. I think I understand a little bit. Alright. Let's bring this to an end though. Because it is kind of late. That's cool. We learned a lot. We learned a lot. We're still learning a lot. Thank you guys for stopping by though. It was a really short stream. But yeah. Thank you guys. We'll definitely be exploring some more Phoenix and see if we can continue to work. And see if we can get our first version in production. And like routed and everything. So yeah, thank you guys for stopping by. See you guys in the next one. And yeah, bye bye.